to CHGO Big Ten After Dark, presented by CHGO Bets and powered by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Andrson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. I'm the host of CHGO Bets Daily. Alongside me is my partner in degeneracy, Cody Delmendo, co-host of CHGO Bets Daily. You can follow him on Twitter at Cody_CHGO. And our Big Ten expert, boiler fanatic, brick by brick creator. It's Greg Braggs. You can follow him on Twitter at GBraggsJr23. What do you have for us, Braggs, now that you're the champion?
Is my camera good? It's a little blurry on this end. Am I good? Am I clear to you guys?
Yeah,
messing with the
you're
internet,
fine.
so you can't come in.
We can hear you loud and clear. So if you just want to just go on your rant about being the Big Ten regular season champion and then winning the tournament, go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. That did happen. I got my Big Ten tournament shirt from being at the United Center. It was a lot of fun.
How much did you pay for that? $75?
I get it for free. I'm a big dog there.
Oh.
Yes, I'm chatting in the chat too. There's 2 trophies in the chat that I put up for the 2 that we've already gotten. There was a lot of smack talk last week coming from the team at CHGO. A lot of different schools represented from the Big Ten at the CHGO Sports Studios. And, Wisconsin goes down in their first game. Illinois goes down in their first game. Northwestern goes down in their first game. Of all the teams, that had all this crap to talk, I think IU was the only team to win 1 game. So I don't know. Maybe it was just a little bit of karma coming your guys' way. Maybe you guys should have been a little nicer to the regular season Big Ten champ, and maybe things would have turned out better. Purdue had a pretty easy road. Rutgers, Ohio State, Penn State, whatever. Probably the easiest Big Ten tournament championship ever. It's an easy road, but that's what you get when you get a 1 seed. And by the way, Purdue has a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament now, so don't blame us if the road falls our way this time too. But we got denigrated in the regular season because they were like, oh, well, you only beat the bad teams. You didn't beat the teams in the top half. Well, if you guys could just beat Penn State, maybe somebody else would be hoisting the trophy instead of Purdue on Sunday. So, we beat Penn State. We took care of business. It got a little close at the end, but I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried for a second. Right.
I'm sure you weren't, Braggs. And I'm sure you're not worried going into the NCAA tournament as a 1 seed and being part of the Big Ten that hasn't won a national championship since 2000.
That's
not
crazy.
Worried about a thing. They've exceeded expectations for this year. They have exceeded expectations. Not worried about a thing. Everyone else that roots against Purdue is now all of a sudden put this expectation on Purdue basketball that it's national championship or bust, as if they're a blue blood. It's a joke. They haven't won a national championship since 1940. They're from West Lafayette. They have no 5-star recruits, but now everyone says national championship or bust. I think Illinois fans would just take a Sweet 16 appearance at this point. They haven't been to one since 2003. Same with IU. They haven't been to a Sweet 16
2005. 2005.
Whatever. So,
greatest team to never win a national championship.
That's not a thing.
This expectation level put on Purdue now, a team that was unranked going into the season, picked to finish 6th or 7th in the Big Ten. They win the regular season by 3 games, get screwed over on the Big Ten Coach of the Year. They got National Player of the Year. They win the Big Ten tournament. They have exceeded expectations for this year. Will I be disappointed if they don't win it all? Sure. But it is not a national championship or bust. So I ain't worried about a thing. Purdue's still going to get there. Have no doubts. This team's got good poise. Now you can talk. The champ The champ has spoken.
Let me just real quick level you fast. The only thing that the 2021 city champions was also it's Waco, Texas is known for Baylor basketball, and then the Waco massacre. All right, so like Waco isn't on the map outside of Baylor. Okay, so you can't bring up West Lafayette and say that's a negative because Baylor just did it, my friend. I don't care about where your team's located. It's fair about the expectations, 1940. But I mean, do you want to set that expectation for your own team? Don't you want to win a national title? Isn't that what Matt Painter should be going for after all of these years? What's the expectation for Purdue, especially having a 1 seed?
Of course. I don't begrudge any Purdue fan for setting high expectations, but this idea that it's national championship or bust is silly. You have a right to say, I think they can get there. They should get there. I want them to win it. But if they don't win it all, I just think it's kind of crazy to say that the rest of the season is a failure. When you consider how this team came in. Last year's team that was predicted before the season to be one of the top teams in the country had a lottery pick in Jaden Ivey that fell short of the Big Ten regular season championship, lost in the Big Ten tournament championship versus Iowa, and then lost to frickin' St. Peter's in the Sweet 16 game. That's a disappointment. But this season, with what we're expected to do going into the year, and 2 freshmen starting in their starting lineup, you have to have some perspective. I'm not trying to hedge, but at the same time, they were not expected to have the kind of success they've had, and that is a credit to the real coach of the year, Matt Painter, and of course Zach Edey, who's had an unbelievable season. But you know, like, come on, guys, let's be a little fair to the conversation here. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not gonna be disappointed, but let's carry a little perspective here.
I just let you set the expectations. What was unfair about that?
I don't like the question.
I don't like the question.
Steven, did you make Chris Collins a thumbnail?
I did.
Good. You deserve it, Rax. I love you. I love you so much. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care. Adam Hogue was right to name you in the most annoying fan base TikTok because I said it in the show before. I said, clip this and put it in the TikTok. They didn't, but Hogue did it for me.
It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm being vilified for my passion. You guys can't beat Penn State. I'm getting in trouble because Purdue's taking care of they're not playing with their food. I don't get it. You guys should be rooting for my happiness.
Cody's got his team in the national title or the national tournament.
When I was giving Sean crap about the coach of the year stuff that I wouldn't let go last week, Sean goes, well, I just don't see Purdue should not lose 5 games in the Big Ten. While every other team in the Big Ten lost at least 8. And this is the expectation Purdue now has, that they're not allowed to lose 5 games in the Big Ten, or Sean thinks that everyone Matt Painter doesn't deserve any credit for anything. I saw somebody put a tweet out there that did Chris Collins win coach of the tournament for falling 3 games short of the Big Ten tournament title. I thought that was a pretty good joke. All right. I'm done.
I hear you. I hear you, Braggs, because just 2 years ago, I understand exactly how you felt because no one thought Illinois would be a 1 seed going into the 2021 NCAA tournament, at least at the start of the year. And they won the Big Ten tournament. And, they won the Big Ten tournament and got snubbed of the Big Ten regular season championship because of a stupid technicality by the Big Ten. Fuck Michigan. Fuck Hunter Dickinson. So I hear what you're putting down, and I somewhat understand. But, again, 1 seed, and yes, you did say there's high expectations. I wouldn't say that it's a bust year just because, like you said, the expectations weren't nearly as high. But, I don't know, man. When you get a 1 seed, there's because I'm just going off my experience of after Illinois lost to Loyola, I'm still getting destroyed for it. So, I mean, and I know you still getting destroyed for what happened last year. And I'm not bringing up who the team is. I'm just saying I know you're still getting destroyed for that. So, all I know is no matter what happens, that you're probably going to get destroyed if they don't get to at least the Final Four. I think it's not a quote unquote bust or a failure if they at least get to the Elite 8. If they get at least to the Elite 8, then no one's going to say that it was a good season but a failure in the NCAA tournament.
And Kevin Kadick will, and Mark Carman will.
Well, your friend, who you started beefing with first when the college basketball season started, is being real with you right now. And I'm telling you that I won't do that, because I think that in a way you are making a lot of sense, and because I've been there before. So
I'll say this much.
That's where I'm at with you.
I'll say this much. If Purdue loses to the 16th seed, which we won't know until tomorrow who that is, but if they lose to the 16th seed, I will never come to the CHGO studios again.
Why?
Because I won't be able to face
Coward.
any of you people.
Coward.
It won't be able to happen.
It's basketball. Coward.
I see Alex's comment where he says that Illinois team was a preseason top 10 team. I get it. They did have high expectations, but I don't think nationally they had high expectations of being a 1 seed and like a favorite to win the national championship. But yeah, they had higher expectations than this Purdue team. I'll give them that. They probably had the as high as expectations as last year's Purdue team with Jaden Ivey and Travion Williams and the rest of those guys. So yeah, I mean, again, I get it. That said, I don't know if Purdue makes it out the first weekend.
Oh boy! All right,
that's where I'm at.
Let's get into that. Let's tell you first about our good friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, and then let's get into all of the first round matchups. And then I think Cody's going to let you know about what he thinks about Purdue. Greg, I'm going to let you know right now. Watch out for TBD. That team's feisty.
Yeah.
TBD.
Right. Yeah. All right.
I got your TBD.
Fairleigh Dickinson, man.
But it's to be determined.
To be determined.
It could be FDU. We love our. What do we know?
Knights.
Knights.
The
Yeah,
Knights.
Knights.
Yes.
Anyways, let's let you know about DraftKings Sportsbook. They have all the odds for the NCAA tournament, game odds, future odds, region odds as well. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook now. Download the app. And new customers, if you use code CHGO and bet $5 on the money line of an NBA game, you get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Terms and conditions apply. See show notes for details. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, let's get into it. Maryland and West Virginia's first. I want to get into your Illinois matchup, but that's just not chronologically the first game. Okay. South Region first round, the 9 seed West Virginia Mountaineers, the 8 seed Maryland Terrapins, 11-15. This is tipping off the entire thing. Maryland getting 2 points, plus 115 on the money line, over under 137.5. Who do you like?
I like West Virginia. I think West Virginia pulls this one out. They just, they played in a better conference. And I just don't know how to feel about Maryland. I watched Maryland beat Minnesota, and then just which means nothing. I'm talking about in the Big Ten tournament. I watched that game, and they looked like okay, maybe they'll take some momentum into that IU game, and they did for 30 minutes, maybe not more like 25 minutes. And blew a halftime lead and fell to IU. And then that same IU team lost to Penn State the next day. I don't understand. So, yeah, Maryland's just been too up and down for me all season. So, West Virginia, I know they're basically won a lot of their games at home. They struggled on the road, but in a neutral site setting, I think that, in an 8-9 matchup, I'll take the team from the better conference. So, give me West Virginia against Maryland to cover the 2.5.
Greg.
I'm going to be a pretty Big Ten homer here on this show today. I feel good about the Big Ten, especially early on, and a few teams make a run, which we'll get into. So I'm going to take Maryland. I've watched Purdue beat both of these teams, by the way. So, West Virginia certainly, has had a solid season, but just watching them play against a Big Ten team earlier in this year in Purdue, they had their problems. And Maryland can shoot. Maryland's got some players, some offensive firepower, the disruptors on defense. I like the way they play. It's hard to gauge the Big Ten. They have very good teams. They have a bad reputation because of the way that things have gone in March. And I feel it's somewhat unfair because there's a lot of luck that goes into how you do in March, especially if you don't have five-star recruits like Duke and Kentucky and Kansas do every year. And the thing about the Big Ten is they beat up on each other so much and they know each other so well that by the end of the Big Ten regular season, you're looking at all these teams like they ain't going to do anything. But, these teams, now that they get out of the Big Ten and there's less familiarity with the sets they run and the things they do, I think you're going to start to see some of these teams win a few games. So I'm going to go homer with the Big Ten for most of this show. So I'm taking Maryland in this game.
I'm with Cody. I'm not against being a little bit of a Big Ten homer. I do like some of the matchups for them. West Virginia just isn't one of them. West Virginia has looked well in their last 4 games. They are 3-1. Only loss is to KU, and that's a very good team with wins over KSU, ISU, and a fairly hot Texas Tech team. And then Maryland, they do have the win over Minnesota. I think we were surprised at that because they're horrible away from home. They're really bad, really bad away team. And in their last 4 games, they've played 4 away games, basically, 2 on a neutral court. But they've lost to Ohio State, lost to Penn State, won versus Minnesota, and then lost by 10 against IU. I like the Mountaineers for not only that reason, but also Bob Huggins. So I'll take West Virginia to advance.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of gauge how you feel about Maryland against a non-conference opponent, they did win by 18 against Miami back in November, and they beat St. Louis, which is a solid A-10 school. But I mean, they were getting. I remember watching them play Tennessee. They lost by 3 to Tennessee. They played a terrible first half, came all the way back, just were unable to pull that one out. So take whatever grain of salt from that. And they lost by 27 to UCLA. UCLA is a really good program, a really good team, experienced team. This Maryland team has been way better than I expected in the first year of their new coach. So, again, it's an 8-9 matchup. Anything can happen. And the spread's 2.5 points for a reason. But yeah, I think the coaching is more favored for West Virginia in this spot, though.
We'll get to it. We'll have more best bet shows, obviously, the day of the tournament. Very excited for those. But I don't know. I have a feeling if that line stays at -135, I'll probably be sprinkling a lot on the Mountaineers to advance just because I do like that matchup for them. You bring up the spread, I think it could be a close game. So I'm not taking the spread in a lot of these tournament games. But to win, I think the Mountaineers get it done. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's go to the next game. Cody. In the West region, in the first round, another 8-9 matchup at 3:30 p.m. Clear your calendars. Do not text. Do not call. Cody will not be picking up. He's busy.
I'll be busy.
Number 9, Illinois Fighting Illini taking on the number 8 Arkansas Razorbacks. A very similar line, -2 in favor of the Razorbacks, -135 on the money line if you like Illinois. At +115, over under a little bit higher than the Maryland game at 143.5. How are you feeling, Cody?
Not great. They're coming off a loss. They lost to Penn State, a game that they should have won. They had a second half lead. Then Dane Danger unintentionally headbutts one of Penn State's players, and he gets called for a flagrant foul. How that was called a flagrant foul, I still don't understand. Whenever Zach Edey straight up assaulted Matt Mayer a few days before that. I don't get it. Big Ten refs, you're all dead to me. I love that Braggs loves this. So yeah, to sum it up, I don't feel great. The only thing that gives me some hope, and let's be real, hope is a dangerous thing. Is that Illinois coming in this with house money. They have no expectations, unlike the last few years. Even though last season, I would say that they didn't even have high expectations to get to the Sweet 16 with the roster they had. They had a very experienced team, so many thought maybe they could get to the Sweet 16, but that Houston team they played in the second round was no joke. They went all the way to the Final Four, I'm pretty sure. So whatever. Obviously, the year before that, losing to Loyola, I can tell my heart and soul and everyone else who shits on me that Loyola was underseeded or whatever. But they lost the game. They should have won that game. They were a 1 seed. They were one of the best teams in college basketball the year, whatever. All I'm saying is they don't have any expectations coming into this tournament. So, you're going up against an Arkansas team that's honestly played very much just like Illinois in terms of coming into the year. they had high expectations too. They have 2 potential lottery picks. Now, Illinois doesn't have 2 potential lottery picks, but they had high expectations. They were picked to finish in, the top 3 of the Big Ten. They finish near, like, in the middle of the pack because of the loss to Purdue on the final day of the year. So, basically, to me, they are very similar teams in how their teams played throughout the year. They play a similar style. They suck at threes.
I also have Nick Smith.
We're both looking at Nick Smith right now.
We're both looking at Nick Smith's page.
Nick Smith has played. Nick Smith has played 14 games this year. I feel like that kind of can play a factor in his performance this month or in this game. I know I've read a lot of tweets where some people are high on Arkansas, and they should be. They're a very talented team. I'm a big Coach Bus guy. I love his vibe. I'm a big fan of Arkansas's basketball program, to be honest with you. So yeah, obviously I want to believe that Illinois can win that game. I think if Illinois wins this game, they really could potentially beat Kansas. If they win this game, just because you get that momentum, and a couple days later you play a Kansas team with house money. And when Illinois has played really good teams this year with house money, you could say, or as an underdog or as looked at to not win the game, they've at least been in the game. They beat UCLA, they beat Texas, and they came very close against Purdue and Indiana the second time without their best player. So again, I don't have much hope, but the little hope in me is the fact that they don't have any expectations, and that's something that they haven't had the last 2 NCAA tournaments. So they just go out there, play free, and if they don't turn the ball over and they don't shoot a ton of threes and don't shoot themselves in the foot, I think they have a good shot at beating Arkansas. But Arkansas is a favorite for a reason. They have more talent. So, I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking Arkansas is going to win this game.
You're not feeling overly confident. Greg, how you feeling?
I mean, it certainly is a good matchup, like as far as evenly matched, the way these two teams play. I mean, if Purdue was playing Arkansas, I'd be a little worried because I think that matchup hurts them. But for Illinois, I think it's a decent matchup. I don't trust Illinois at all. I'm not a big Brad Underwood guy. We've talked about this year. I just am not. He just won't do enough to prove me wrong, I feel like. And I know Cody and I go back and forth about this, but it's tough. My gut says Arkansas, but we get into the tournament, I start to get chesty, not just about my Boilermakers, but I get chesty about all of the Big Ten except for IU. I root for IU's downfall for sure because I don't like Gary. So, I don't know. It's tough to say. Like I said, my gut says Arkansas, but I think Illinois certainly has a puncher's chance in this game because, as you mentioned, Arkansas doesn't shoot the three that well, and Illinois is going to score their points. It's just a matter of how much defense will Illinois play. And, are their guys healthy? Because, Epps, he had the concussion. He
did play against Penn State, but only maybe 10 minutes, and he came off the bench.
Yeah, I thought that was a big factor in that game, too, because if he came in really late, and, his minutes were very sporadic. So we'll just have to wait and see what his health is like. Hopefully he's healthy, and I think that could give them some different rotations to give a look to Arkansas. So my gut says Arkansas, though. I hate saying it, but that's where my gut is.
I have no clue. Nick Smith Jr., good at basketball, also has a field goal percentage under 40%. It's not that efficient. I don't know if Illinois has a stopper. They could.
Coleman Hawkins.
Nick Smith's pretty quick. He's quicker than Coleman. I don't know if Coleman would be able to match up with him just because of the size. I think Nick's a little bit more faster, but it's. Yeah. I'm not sure. Just because we saw Lundy be so good against them, so I don't know how quick guards, and just quick ball handlers will be able to attack Illinois' defense. But I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a great matchup just because it's Brad Underwood versus Eric Musselman. That's a fantastic matchup to watch. I don't think Illinois is going to get blown out. So by that fact, I think it will be a competitive game. If we could bet on Illinois, I'd probably bet on the spread, but I think I'm probably going to advance Arkansas in my brackets. But it's really about if Nick Smith shows up, and I mean, he's not that efficient, so I'll roll Illinois.
Will the real Terrence Shannon please stand up? That Terrence Shannon that played well against some of those teams early in the year. We need that guy if you're rooting for Illinois to go off, and Illinois can get through.
In the first half of the game that we saw at the United Center, he hits that shot from like 35 feet deep or whatever, 30 feet out, and it's like, holy shit! Like, I mean, he's a one hell of an athlete. So
they lost
he
that
can
game.
be a difference maker.
They didn't lose that game against Penn State because of Terrence Shannon. He showed up for that game. It was Matt Mayer had an off day, and he didn't get up any shots. I don't know if it was about Purdue, Penn State's defense or just his. I don't know. It's not that he doesn't know the moment. The dude won a national championship with Baylor. So I think I do think that's a plus for Illinois as well, as Shannon and Mayer have a lot of NCAA tournament experience. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. I was looking at Arkansas' schedule. They've also lost four of their last 5 games. So,
and that's when Nick Smith's been back. Like, I don't know if his efficiency helps this team. I'm not really getting good vibes from Arkansas. It's tough to really confidently pick them. That's why they're an 8 seed.
I don't like to Bragg's point about Underwood as a coach. As much as I support Brad Underwood and as much as I will stand him, I'm not saying that he's not perfect. I do think that his in-game adjustments can be detrimental to how to if they win or not. Against Penn State was a great example. In the second half, he barely used Ty Rodgers or Sincere Harris, and those were 2 guys that he's been using a lot in the last couple months, and they bring energy and are a big part of how they win games. So the fact that he barely used them in the second half of that game against Penn State, especially after the momentum shifted when Dane Danger got that flagrant foul. And when he did finally bring them back in, it was too late. They were down double digits with less than 2 minutes to go. The fact that he didn't do it earlier, it makes you scratch your head and makes you wonder, what are we doing here? That said, more wins than anyone else in the Big Ten in the last 4 years. So
he's a good recruiter, and he's bringing in transfers now. The NIL stuff certainly seemed like it helped them this season with all the different players they brought in. And it's tough to, like, Matt Painter's program I always, I'm going to look at it through a Purdue lens, but the way they roll these players over in this program and there's more consistency there, you see that continuity that you just don't see with Illinois. And I understand they're approaching the way they build their team much differently than Purdue. So I think he's a good recruiter. I don't know if they can do much better than Brad Underwood, because I'm not saying he's the worst coach. I'm just not that big of a fan. And mostly because, you're talking about in-game adjustments, but also I just think they play too free a style. And maybe because I'm just such a Matt Painter disciple and they're so regimented with the way they run their sets and their system offense. And it doesn't feel like there's much of that with Illinois. It's so loose. They come up and one time it's Mayer and it's one-on-one and they're looking for that one-on-one mismatch so they can either, step back 3 or drive and kick. But, like, sometimes when Danger's hot, I feel like they don't go into him enough and play through the post. And there's just not enough consistency with the way they play. And I put it on the coach. I'm sorry, maybe I should put it on the players more, but that's just how I look at it.
Well, I definitely put it on the players more.
Feel free to put it wherever. I just think, if Brad had a little bit more postseason success, I don't think this would be a topic. He's gotten to the round of 32, but he hasn't gotten to the Sweet 16 with Illinois yet. I don't think that's a bad program by any of past 3 years. He's been in the dance. That's a good thing. He's in the dance. He's not out of the dance. It could be much worse. You could be Michigan. So I don't
or Rutgers.
think. Right. I don't really think that he's doing a bad job, but I do think the Brags would be a lot quieter if there was a Sweet 16.
I will never be quiet.
Brags being quiet?
They pay you to talk, Brags.
They'll get to the Sweet 16, and then Brags would be like, oh, how about a Final Four? And I'm like, well,
let's move on.
At least Illinois has a Final Four this century.
Oh boy. Let's move on to 550. Another 9-8 matchup in the Midwest region. again in the first round. Number 9, Auburn from the SEC. And number 8, Iowa. The line right now, Auburn -1. Hawkeyes to win at +100. Over-under of 152. I think I'll take the under in this one.
Iowa and Auburn. Yeah, I'm taking Auburn in this one just because Iowa, man, like how they did what they did at IU last week or 2 weeks ago, I still don't understand. I can't believe it happened. But then for them to lose to Ohio State, I know Ohio State is they kind of figured their way out at the end of the year and got hot and got like made an impressive run in the Big Ten tournament. But Iowa's been so like they are the same thing every year, man. They don't play any defense, and that is not good in the NCAA tournament. So I know Auburn will, and I also think Bruce Pearl is a better coach than Fran McCaffrey. So give me Auburn over Iowa.
Greg,
I'm going Iowa. I love Fran McCaffrey. He's the funniest coach in college basketball history. I'm going for him strictly for the stare down of that ref during the regular season. No, Murray is a really solid player. They've got shooters everywhere. Now they're out of the Big Ten where, I don't know if their style of play is going to lead them to too many Big Ten regular season championships. But outside of the Big Ten, if they're playing the way they can offensively, and then they also, are one of the best pressing teams because that's something Fran McCaffrey can do. And in the tournament, when you have to, in a pinch, utilize the press, they run it well. So like other teams in the tournament that you're going to see, try to utilize that because it's win or go home, and all of a sudden you need to get some turnovers and steal some possessions. They haven't practiced it. So you can run it, but you got to be good at it. Iowa practices. You talk about Painter's system offense. Iowa's system is dedicated on pressing full court if they want to, and they will. So that can create problems for teams. So I'm taking Iowa in that matchup. And I also think there's a good chance Iowa could get to the Sweet 16.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I don't have too much faith in them just because I don't think that Chris Murray is that good. It's not Chris. It's Chris
I think
Murray.
Auburn could. I think Auburn could get past Houston, especially if Marcus Sasser is out, or is actually seriously hurt, whatever. But
Alex brings up a great point. I mean, this is basically
Iowa.
an Auburn home game. I mean, this is in Alabama, Auburn in Alabama. I think that you're right that they have a good shot if they get past Iowa. But I mean, the one thing too is like Auburn plays defense. Iowa is going to be forced to shoot from the outside, and we saw with Ohio State what you can do if you slow down tempo and play decent defense against Iowa. You could just shut them down.
We took the over in that game, and we were like, we felt so good about it because they were playing Ohio State.
And Kevin and Jake kept looking at us like, what's going on?
Right.
Should we live bet the over? No.
Thank God I took Ohio State +4.5 live.
Yeah. So I like Auburn. Greg likes Iowa. You like?
I like Auburn.
All right. You like Auburn. I like your point, too, about Houston. I don't know if I
well, it all depends if Marcus Sasser is healthy. I mean, he didn't play in that game against Memphis in the AAC championship. So, and Houston's been very quiet about his status. Like, I don't know if he's going to play Thursday or Friday, whatever day their first game is. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I think they're Tuesday or Friday. I'm not sure though. Let's go to the next matchup, and this is another in-state team in the West region, first round. 10-7 matchup, number 10 Boise State versus number 7 Northwestern Wildcats with Big Ten Coach of the Year, Chris Collins leading the charge. Cody, who do you like?
I'm going to take Northwestern in this one. The Mountain West has not been very good in the NCAA tournament the last few years. That said, the 10 seed, I think I read a stat that says the 10-7 matchups, that's where the most upsets come from in the NCAA tournament.
Really?
Yeah, like percentage-wise, like over 50% of them come from the 7-10 matchups. I think this will be a close game. Northwestern's offense isn't good enough for them to just run away. But if I think Chase Adi shows up for Northwestern, he has not been very good offensively, at least, Northwestern's last few games. But I think with the experience that they have, and you know how Northwestern in the tournament second time, I don't think they're going to lose first round. So I'll take the Wildcats over Boise State.
All right. So to be clear, I said there's a chance Iowa could get to the Sweet 16, but I am not predicting it as of yet. Let's see how they get through their first round matchup. But with Northwestern, I have them winning in the first round, and I have them beating UCLA to get to the Sweet 16. That's right. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. I was the first to tell you that Northwestern would be in the tournament in January, even with Mark Carman, who works at Welsh Ryan Arena, didn't want to believe me, and then used the rest of the year to vilify me against Northwestern because they beat my Purdue Boilermakers. But no, guard play is king in the tournament, and they have veteran guard play. And Chase Audige and Boo Buie are very good, know how to get to their spots, know the shots they want, and, you know, in general, they are a pesky team defensively. Chris Collins has had a very solid year coaching this team up. Barnheiser has all of a sudden become a force. A very solid year, very respectable year. And so to me, they've all of a sudden found some rhythm. You want to talk about building a system. They're running good offense. They're getting these guys in a position to succeed, finding good roles for each player, and then let Boo Buie and Chase Audige go to work, whichever is hotter. Typically, it's Boo Buie. So Tim Christie says in the chat, crack is dangerous. You'll see. Northwestern into the Sweet 16. UCLA has a couple injuries that they just got. They're a very good team, but they've had a couple injuries. That's going to make their depth an issue. Northwestern is a very solid team defensively. If you go look at the way they played all season long, even on the road, they're a tough-ass team. So I am very confident in this pick. Northwestern, Sweet 16, Cinderella story. Mark Carman, I love you. Sometimes I hate you.
I actually don't hate the pick because I do think that UCLA plays at the pace that Northwestern wants to play. So I don't hate it.
Yeah, Jalen Clark for UCLA out for season. Adam Bona, Mick Cronin suggested he might be available for that game. We'll see. Even if that's for the first round matchup. Even if he is available, it might still be banged up. So it's not the worst upset pick.
Yeah,
I don't hate it because I do like Northwestern to advance. I think that they're just going to play tighter defense. I think that they're 4-1 versus top 25. Boise State hasn't seen this level of competition. Northwestern's seen it all year, basically. Boise State's a good team, nearly top 30 in KenPom, and they have a higher KenPom rating than Northwestern. But you mentioned the senior guards. I think that's going to travel well, and defense usually travels well as well. But Idaho to Sacramento, not that bad of a trip. Chicago to Sacramento, pretty long. I don't know if it's going to be too bad. These guys have done it before.
Again, but I like the 10-7 matchups are tough. So.
I like the under.
I like the under.
I like the under.
Yeah.
I'll take Northwestern to advance, but mainly just because I like to see Carm happy.
The Mountain West has been good this year. I mean,
Nobody likes to see me happy. You want to see Carm happy. Get out of here.
Like to see Cody happy.
I'm never happy.
No,
Shit.
You're not. Let's move on. Let's go to the Midwest region first round.
All my teams do is hurt me. Shit.
Same. 10-7, number 10 Penn State, number 7 Texas A&M. Two of my favorite teams here. This is at 8:55 on the 16th. Cody, who do you like? Oh, wait, real quick. Penn State plus 3.5 on the spread, plus 126 on the money line, which makes no sense. Over under of 134.5. I'm gonna go bet Penn State plus 3.5 right now.
Okay, so Sean's on Penn State here. I wanna take Penn State, and I think I did in my bracket, to be honest with you. But I'm scared because I think Texas A&M, and I think we all agree that they're underseeded immensely. But Penn State's coming into this game it's the first time Penn State's made the NCAA tournament since I was a teenager. And I'm 31, so you do the math. And then they were a possession away from beating Purdue. They went all the way. They won 2 games in the Big Ten tournament. Beat IU, Obviously, Illinois beat Northwestern, so they won 3 games. And they played well at the end of the year. I remember whenever it seemed like they were like firmly out of the NCAA tournament, and then they just I don't know what happened. They turned it back on, and I think a lot of it has to do with they have experienced. They're the oldest team in the country. They have experienced guard play. Jalen Pickett is very good, and like Bragg said, experienced guards in March are king. So I know Texas A&M is very, very good, and I still believe they deserved a higher seed. But I just think not only did they get underseeded, they get a terrible matchup in this first round. So I'm gonna take Penn State.
Yeah, same. I'm taking Penn State. I'm going full homer. I'm sure I'm going to get all these picks wrong, but Penn State, you're right. You talk about Northwestern having experienced guard play, and they do. Penn State not only has experienced guard play, but they're big and physical and tough. They create tough matchups, and then they have a weapon in Funk who just sprays around that 3-point line. And when Jalen Pickett's posting you up, he can back down a center or a guard. And when he starts backing you down and he gets hot in the post, then all of a sudden you're doubling a guard in the post. He kicks it around, and before you know it, Funk's wide open on the other side of the court and splashing down threes. I love this Penn State team. I don't love their second round matchup against Texas as much. So I don't know if I'm going to get as boisterous to say they're also going to the Sweet 16. I was hoping they'd get a better draw because I wanted to pick them to the Sweet 16, but they're certainly going to win their first round matchup.
I also like Penn State. We also haven't mentioned our guy Shrewsbury, your Matt Painter disciple.
Disciples. Right? The tree groweth.
The tree groweth. He's one of the best game planners in all of college basketball right now. I've heard the Brad Stevens of college basketball, which is just, I guess, Brad Stevens, because, again, he coached at Butler, which is college basketball. So that's redundant, but, hey, nice little comp. So I do like Shrewsbury. And the main thing is, and Alex mentions it, Boise State clobbered this Texas A&M team. Also mentions Boise plays all senior guards. I don't care about that between Northwestern and Boise State because Boise State has Mountain West guards. Northwestern has Big Ten guards. But Wade Taylor, the best guard for Texas A&M, who carried them to the final of the SEC, got smoked by Alabama. And I just think that senior guards like Jalen Pickett, not Lundy, because I don't think he's a senior yet. Who's the other guy? It's Pickett, and who's the other guard for
Funk?
Seth Lundy.
Seth Lundy. Okay. Clary. Sorry, my bad. I was mixing up Clary and Lundy.
Then they also have Michael Winters, who is starting to show up at the end of the year too. So they got a few guys, but it's Seth Lundy and Jalen Pickett are their two dogs.
I think Pickett goes at him. I think that they're able to win this game. I'll take them. What was it? Plus 3.5. It's ridiculous. Let's go Penn State. I think 7-10 matchups. They've been all decided by 5 points or less. So you're basically giving me 4. I really like that Penn State play.
Yeah. And to Alex's point about Boise, or how Boise beat up on Texas A&M. I mean, I think the one reason I could come up with that Texas A&M got a 7 seed was because they're non-conference. They didn't play very great. Mm-hmm. They're very good in the SEC, but not in the non-conference. So that's why you got to play good all year.
Right.
I'm scared for it because I just based off how Texas A&M's playing here at the end of the year, but Penn State's also playing very well right now. And I like the experience that they have.
Penn State's, they're both 4-1 in their last 5 games, and their last losses were against number 1 seeds. It's really tough to judge them. And even then, Texas A&M has a win over Alabama in the month of March as well. So they've been playing really well. We'll have to see, though. Big loss, though, 82-63. Penn State was at least able to backdoor Purdue a little bit and only close that by 2. So it looks a little bit better on that closing line.
They did more than backdoor it.
Let's go to the 17th. We got number 10 USC versus number 7 Michigan State in the East region. Here is Tom Izzo again in the month of March. Cody, do you like your boy Tommy?
I do like Tom Izzo in March against this USC team. This is how I feel about the Pac-12. especially after fighting with the guys from PHNX Wildcats last week. If you're not Arizona or UCLA, I'm gonna fade you. So I don't have I know USC a few years ago they were in this similar position and they went on a run, blah 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 blah. But my pick for Michigan State to win the Big Ten tournament did not work out in my favor. However, I did say Penn State was a cool value play, and I almost was right about that. But I don't know. Despite the loss in the Big Ten tournament, I just felt pretty good about Michigan State coming into this. So, I'm gonna roll with Izzo and see if they can get a matchup with Marquette after that. But I just don't trust anyone in the Pac-12 if you're not Arizona or UCLA. So,
yeah, I haven't watched much USC, so I'm not going to pretend like I have. Michigan State, let's go Big Ten. Don't let us down. They lost their first game in the Big Ten tournament, so they're well rested. And they better.
Izzo's had plenty of time.
I think it's a dangerous trap to fall into. Just kind of thinking, the Pac-12 isn't that good. I'm not sure.
I just haven't watched them to know. I honestly have not watched USC enough. They're going to be in the Big Ten soon, so we'll know all about them when they get there.
That's true. It's tough because that Arizona State game, they played Arizona State back-to-back. They played them on the 9th and lost 7-72, and then they played on the 4th and they won by 3, 68-65. And then their game before that was against Arizona. It was at USC, but they only lost by 6. And then before then, they were on a 4-game win streak. I don't know. I think it would be kind of.
Listen,
I like USC because I'm getting points. I don't think that Michigan State has that game changer. Boogie Ellis is very good. He's a senior guard, and since the 26th, he's basically scored 20 in every single game, 16 and 15 against ASU and Utah. But I like USC. I think people are sleeping on them, especially on a money line pick. I like USC. I got to fade one of these Big Ten teams, so I'll fade Michigan State.
USC lost to Wisconsin. That's all I need to say.
They're different teams. Let's go. Let's go to the next one. We're actually going to skip over Purdue, not because Greg. All right, real quick, as fast as you can. Do you think the number 1 seed is going to beat the 16 seed?
No.
Okay. Greg, the number 1 seed is going to beat the number 16 seed. We're going to talk about if Purdue can win the title. No team in the Big Ten has won the title since 2000. And then we'll talk about the next round, the 8 or 9 for Purdue, whether it's Memphis and if that's a nice matchup for them. Let's go to the next one, and that is the number 13 seed, Kent State, and number 4, Indiana, Midwest region. Shout out to Gary. 8:55 on the 17th. I like Kent State here. I don't know about you, Cody.
I think Indiana wins, but I think Kent State could cover. Kent State, I'm disappointed that they didn't let more MAC teams in. I thought Toledo had a very good resume, man. They had won double-digit games in a row before losing to Kent State in the MAC championship. Now they're playing Michigan tonight in the NIT. But anyway, that Kent State team beat Toledo, a team that I think deserves to be here. I think Indiana wins this game, but it ain't going to be easy, in my opinion. But I think their size is probably going to be the reason that they roll on. Kent State hasn't played anyone like Trace Jackson Davis all season. So, yeah, I mean, again, going to be a tough one, though. I think Indiana rolls, though.
Greg?
What's Jalen Hood-Schifino going to do is the answer. He disappeared in the Penn State game because it's all about matchups. I see guys saying, oh, well, in the chat talking about different, Gary says, IU showed no heart against Penn State. No, they played a team that matched up well with them. And that's just how it goes. And so what Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to show up is the question. I've never seen Kent State play, know nothing about them. I'll be rooting for them because I root on Gary's downfall because he thinks it's funny to make fun of me. But IU should win this game. IU could get to a Sweet 16. They can beat Miami. But I think I feel better about them against teams like Miami than I do against teams like Kent State, because IU is just this prototypical team that puts way too much pressure on themselves at times in certain games, and then they fall apart. So we'll just have to wait and see. Having known nothing about Kent State, I just don't have a good beat on that. So I'm going to pick IU.
Kent State lost by 5 to Houston back in November. They lost by 2 to Charleston the game before that, and they lost by single digits to Gonzaga.
Can I add something?
They're not a bad team. They will be a tough out.
They are not a bad team. And let me add a little bit of fact here. Let me let Greg know a little bit about Kent State. Their coach, Rob Senderoff. Rob Senderoff used to work at an institution in the state of Indiana, the Indiana Hoosiers.
Ooh.
He was an assistant head coach from 2006 to 2008.
Wow.
It's a great gig. 2006 to 2008, Indiana basketball. That must be red hot right after Bob B. Knight left. What happened in 2008 to the Indiana basketball program?
Is Eric Gordon still there?
That led to recruiting controversies, friends.
Oh, yeah, Kelvin Sampson.
And that's how Kelvin Sampson and his assistant, Rob Senderoff, left the University of Indiana. Revenge game. Rob Senderoff and the Golden Flashes taking down Indiana. Ooh. I am sorry, Gary, but it's happening. You got to pick some lower seeds. Revenge game narrative. Rob Senderoff. They're fucked.
You kind of changed my mind. I do think that Kent State will cover. I don't know what the spread is right now, but I do think they'll cover. But that's interesting. When IU gets
rolling, they're a very confident and good team. When they have to get into a dogfight with a team, then the pressure, they start playing with like this pressure on them. And all of a sudden, Trey Galloway's not hitting his shots, and Miller Kopp is missing his shots. Those are the kind of X factors they need to play well to get them across the finish line. And then Jalen Hood-Schifino, he had 6 points against Penn State. He probably would have had 48 points if he had played Purdue. But again, it's a matchup thing, and the way Purdue runs their offense to allow that mid-range jump shot. Kent State, let's see what they allow. But it is funny. For Gary, what a shame that Kelvin Sampson did get ran out of town for making phone calls with what the college landscape is nowadays, allowing teams to pay players and things of that nature with NIL. Because if Kelvin Sampson was still at IU, I probably wouldn't be chirping as much about the IU-Purdue rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely. I do just want to add to Indiana can't shoot from the outside, so I don't think that's going to work well in the tournament. We'll see if Kent State can make some from the outside. In the games against Gonzaga and Kent State, or against Gonzaga and Houston, they only made 6 threes. We're 6 and 23 from 3 for both games. So if they go 8 of 23, 10 of 23, I think they win this game. So we'll see. Let's now go on to
let's go Maction.
Let's go to Greg's team. All right, Greg. Cody says you're going to be bounced in the second round. I don't think so. I don't know if I really buy into this Memphis team. So first, why don't you just talk me through the first 2 rounds? I think you're feeling fine probably with the first round. Who do you not
Southern? What are you talking about, man?
Who do you not want to see in the second round? Is it Memphis? Yeah.
I have no idea who I want to see. Obviously, I'll be keeping a close eye on both those teams. I have one of my co-hosts for our Purdue shows did a thread breakdown of both teams, or all 4 potential teams Purdue can play over the weekend. And I haven't had a chance to really dive into it, but I have watched Memphis a few times, and Memphis certainly is good. They play fast, but the one thing that they don't have is a big man. Their biggest guy, I think, is 6'9". And you might be, if you're hitting your threes and creating problems for Edey on the defensive end for Purdue, that's one thing. But for Purdue offensively, your biggest guy is 6'9". Good luck to you. You got Zach Edey to deal with down there. There's going to be, Purdue's probably going to rack up the fouls. I see, a guy in the chat say, Ryan Torbett saying, it's easy when, Painter gets the best treatment by Big Ten refs. The free throw to free throw against discrepancy speaks for itself. That's a joke. Purdue should shoot twice as many free throws as they do. They just don't call them because games would take 4 hours with the way they play, with the way teams play Purdue, because they have to. I don't blame teams for doing it. They're challenging the refs to make the call every time down the court. But don't get it twisted, Ryan. They are fouling Zach Edey every single time down the court, whether he has the ball or he doesn't. So that's going to be what Memphis is going to have to do too. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes. But Purdue's starting to get hot. Guys are, David Jenkins Jr. and Brandon Newman are adding a new wrinkle to the team that was number one in the country and won a Big Ten regular season championship. Those two guys weren't as much of a focal point, and now all of a sudden they're starting to rise up. Braden Smith is starting to get more comfortable. The last link for this team, if they're going to make a Final Four run, is Fletcher Lawyer. And Fletcher Lawyer was one of their key contributors all year, and in the last 3 weeks or so, he's completely disappeared. So, if he can get going, this team is a formidable threat to go deep in this tournament. I think they're going to get to the next weekend. I'll obviously be disappointed if they don't. Won't put it past. Won't pretend like I won't. So, Ryan, I know you are upset about the free throw discrepancy, but get you a guy as dominant as Zach Edey, and you'll go to the free throw line too, my friend.
Well, we did last year, but don't get me started. All right.
I know you think I know Cody doesn't think Purdue's winning this region. He's got Duke with a future, and they're the 5 seed. So he at least doesn't think that they're making it past the Sweet 16.
Listen. This goes back to my own experience. When your team is dictated off a big man and your guards are inexperienced. I'm just kind of I don't know. And again, I don't like Bragg's even said it himself. The easiest Big Ten tournament championship that he'll probably ever watch Purdue win. They got to play Ohio State, and then they got to play Rutgers. They got to play Ohio State, and then they played Penn State. And again, I'm nothing against Penn State. They're in the tournament, and they got hot. But and credit to those teams too for getting as far as they did. But as far as like measuring going into this tournament, I guess I would have liked to see them play IU one more time, maybe, or I don't know, just not those teams. I'm sorry. So.
I mean, but does Memphis have a Trace Jackson Davis and Jalen Hood Schifino? Because, like I said, it's all about matchups.
I know.
Purdue can get.
I like Memphis. I like Memphis or Florida Atlantic in this scenario, just because they play fast and they try to, get you to play their way. And if they find a way to be able to actually do that, then I think they can at least hang around. Purdue should win those games. They're the 1 seed for a reason. I just know how this tournament works. You need weird.
A big that can stand up against Zach Edey, and then you need a guard that is the king of the mid-range jumper. Because what you saw, Penn State, they beat Penn State, but that's because they shoot threes. And Purdue guards the three-point line well. They guard the hoop well with their bigs. They have not just Zach Edey, but a lot of big man depth. What they allow is the mid-range jumper. Jalen Hood Schifino will drop 40 on them every time they play because they're going to allow that shot. So that's what I mean with the matchups when it comes to those two teams. I think Florida Atlantic might pose more problems than Memphis in some ways, but we'll just have to wait and see who they play. Purdue should win either of those matchups.
Memphis and Florida Atlantic are very similar. That's why the 8-9 matchup. They both play fast. They both like to put up points. Blah blah blah. Florida Atlantic was ranked at one point in the top 25 in the non-conference, but they play in the Conference USA, so they haven't really played anyone all season. So
I will say
that
they play a little bit differently, though, because Florida Atlantic's a little bit more of an outside three-point shooting team. Shout out to Jack Lichtenstein on Twitter, who put together data of where teams like to shoot for. When they do take mid-range shots, it's mainly in the paint. They're usually at the free throw line or in the paint, or it's outside the arc. Memphis lives within the arc, not only within the paint, but they're taking 15-foot jumpers, 12-foot jumpers from the elbow, a little bit out on the wing. They're mainly within the arc. So even though they're both talented and have similar mid-major-ness to them, I do think play styles do differ a little bit. So I don't know. Maybe Memphis does pose a little bit more of a threat just because of the mid-range game that Greg brought up there. But I do think the Duke matches up really well because you have Flipkowski, who is one of the better bigs in college basketball. Obviously, your man, Edey, is one of the better ones. But Jeremy Roach, a junior guard, I don't know if he can necessarily attack the mid-range like you're describing, but I do think that he can perform well. I don't think he's going to be too shy for the moment. So if it's Duke-Purdue in the Sweet 16, I hate to tell you, Greg, I will take Duke in that, but we'll see what happens there.
Purdue beat Duke once, so we got the book with him.
This Duke team's a lot different than when you guys played them in the non-conference.
Oh, 100%. They helped our resume, so shout out to Duke.
Well, let's just jump in. You got picks. Who's going to win it all?
I don't know, man. Don't make me do this right now.
That's what everyone does. That's what we're supposed to do. What? We're making picks.
No, why? That's not what I do.
Okay.
I'm just here to talk. I don't want to jinx it. I'm not saying anything.
Okay, that's fine.
I refuse. You know who I want to pick, but I just don't know how it's going to happen. So if I couldn't pick Purdue, because I don't want to jinx it, I like Arizona a lot. I've liked them all season. I don't know why. I just like the way they play. So I'll go Arizona.
We got 35 people watching, Greg, so you might be stressed out, but people are loving it. We also got 11 likes, which we appreciate, so feel free to give the thumbs up.
I just like to talk about the Big Ten teams. I don't know. All right? Damn it. I don't know who's going to win.
He just wants all the Big Ten teams to be happy and win.
He wants to do that and slander Kofi Coburn in the chat.
Look at Joe's bringing stats, You Illinois fans or something, okay? All right. Yeah, Bama too. Bama. Miller is a beast. So Bama versus Arizona. I don't know. Who knows? It's impossible to know. It's an entire month of luck. And then when a team loses, you pin it all against that player and coach. It's bullshit.
The only thing that I will say, Greg, is that matchup can't happen because they're both in the South region. So I love you giving out. I love you giving me two teams.
To look at the bracket. You're doing all this Bears coverage. I'm laying brick.
You're fine. You're fine. The winner of Alabama Arizona will win the title because Purdue won't.
I'm interviewing Zach Edey's mom in like 20 minutes. I don't know.
Well, let's wrap the show. Cody, who do you got? Duke?
To win it all,
Arizona? You going with Greg?
My bracket I made today, I put Arizona, so whatever. That said, I still think that the PHNX Wildcats guys need to calm it down.
No boy. More and more, I think I like – I hate all the top seeds. I think I like Gonzaga, and I think I like Duke. I think those are the two teams that I like.
In my first bracket I made, I have Arizona and UConn in the final game.
Okay. I like that.
Which is a 2 versus a 4.
I kept saying, though, I think a Big 12 team's going to win it, and I can't make that bet anywhere. I want to find that bet. Big 10 team or Big 12 team to win national title. I don't know who it is, but it will be one of them.
I'll fill out a bracket before Thursday, and then Tuesday I'll have a better answer for you.
All right,
but I didn't have time. I just haven't had any time.
Follow the very busy Greg Braggs on Twitter at GBraggsJr23. Thank you very much for your insight, Greg. It's been very apt. It's been great. Do not worry. That's Cody Delmendo. You can follow him on Twitter at Cody_CHGO. And I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Good luck talking to Zach Edey's mom. And thank you to Stephen Nicholas for hanging out with us in the chat. Thank you for 13 likes and for hanging out with us here today.
Everybody hit the like button. Even
everybody hit the like.
People watching too. Shout out.
We're getting close to 28,000 subscribers as well on YouTube, so make sure that you are subscribing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stephen Nicholas, for producing the show. We will talk to you tomorrow for more bets. Cody and I will see you then when we're millionaires.